Hey, welcome back to Welcome to Japan. If there's one thing I hear from first-time visitors over and over again, it's some version of this sentence. I couldn't believe how kind everyone was. And I always want to ask, did you know there's a word for that? A single concept that explains all of it? The hot towel at the restaurant. The shop assistant who walked you to the right shelf. The owner who kept bowing long after you turned the corner. That concept is Omotenashi. And once you understand what it actually means, not just the translation, but the philosophy underneath it, Japan starts to feel different, not foreign anymore. Let's get into it. Let me tell you a scene that happens to travelers in Japan all the time. You're lost. You've got an address on your phone, you speak no Japanese, and you're standing on a street corner in a neighborhood you don't recognize. A passerby notices you looking confused. You show them your phone. And then, this is the part that gets people every time, they gesture for you to follow. 20 minutes later, they walk you to the exact door you were looking for. They bow, they smile, they leave. They're already late for wherever they were going. You never even got their name. What was that? Was it just luck? An unusually nice person? No, that's a pattern, and it has a name. It's called Kikubari. We'll get to that. But the root of it, the philosophy underneath it, is Omotenashi. And that's what we're decoding today. Okay, so the word. Omotenashi is almost always translated as hospitality. And that's not wrong, but it's incomplete. Here's the thing that makes Omotenashi different from any service culture you've experienced in the West. In most countries, care and service exist within a transaction. The waiter is friendly because a tip is expected. The hotel concierge goes the extra mile because that earns a good review. Omotenashi operates completely outside that loop. The care isn't conditional. It doesn't require payment. It doesn't require the guest to return or even say thank you. 3 things define it. Care without expectation of return. Service without transaction. Sincerity as a professional standard. Not an extra effort, but the baseline. That's it. But the depth of what those 3 phrases mean? That takes a story to explain. The story starts in a tea room in 16th century Japan. The tea ceremony, chado, wasn't designed to serve refreshments. It was designed to create the ideal experience for one specific guest on one specific day. The tea master chose the hanging scroll based on the season. The single flower in the vase was selected that morning for this encounter. The temperature of the water, the angle of the bowl, all of it deliberate. There was no menu, no bill at the end. The guest didn't need to react effusively. The point wasn't the guest's response. The point was the preparation, the act of caring itself. You'd think something that refined would stay inside a tea room. It didn't. Walk into a convenience store in Tokyo today and watch how the clerk handles your change. Watch a shop assistant cross the room to walk you to exactly the right shelf. What you're seeing is the same spirit. Centuries later, different uniform, same philosophy. I want to sit with this idea for a second. The care given to a guest isn't conditional on payment or reward. It isn't about what the guest will do next, whether they'll tip, whether they'll return, whether they'll leave a review. It's given because sincerity is its own reason. That's what makes Omotenashi feel so disorienting the first time you encounter it. You keep looking for the angle. You keep wondering what they want in return. Nothing. They just want you to feel at home. Take a second to let that land, because once it does, every other part of this video is going to make a lot more sense. Once you know what to look for, you start seeing Omotenashi in the smallest places. The oshibori, a small rolled towel at nearly every sit-down restaurant. Hot in winter, cold in summer. Handed to you before you've even decided what you want. That's anticipatory care. The host prepared for your comfort before you signaled you needed anything. Your change comes on a small wooden tray presented with both hands. It removes the chance of accidental contact, and it reframes a routine transaction as a moment of acknowledgement. Ask a shop assistant where something is. They won't point. In Japan, pointing at a person is considered somewhat impolite. Instead, they'll walk you there personally and wait until you've found what you need. And then, the bow that continues after you've turned away, after you've walked out. The host sees the guest off fully without rushing back to the next task. Small gestures, that's where Omotenashi lives. Let me describe that cashier's scene in detail, because it's the one that hits first-time visitors hardest. You buy something small, maybe a snack, maybe a bottle of tea. You hand over your money, and instead of change being dropped into your palm or tossed across a counter, it arrives on a small lacquer tray. 2 hands, a slight bow, an explicit acknowledgement that something has been exchanged between 2 people. It sounds minor, but compare that to any checkout experience you've had anywhere else in the world. And then, irashaimase, the greeting you'll hear the moment you step into almost any Japanese shop or restaurant. It means welcome, and it comes from every staff member within earshot, almost simultaneously. It's not choreographed for your benefit. It's a genuine declaration. Your presence has been noticed, and you are welcome here. These aren't grand gestures. That's the point. Omotenashi lives in the small ones. Here's the moment that surprises nearly everyone who visits Japan for the first time. You finish dinner at a small restaurant. You bow at the door. You turn and start walking down the street, and you happen to glance back, and the owner is still bowing, long after you've turned away, until you're completely out of sight. It's not a performance. You've already left. She can barely see you. It's the completion of hospitality. The host sees the guest off fully, without rushing back to the next table, the next customer, the next task. The act of care isn't over until the guest is truly gone. Once you understand that, you'll never turn that corner the same way again. Okay, practical question. What do you do if you want to thank someone in Japan? Because the instinct for a lot of Western visitors is to tip. And I want to explain carefully why that instinct in Japan can create an awkward moment. In Japan, excellent service isn't a performance that earns extra reward. It's simply how things are done, consistently, professionally, as a matter of pride. When you offer a tip, the subtle implication is that the service was otherwise insufficient. The staff member didn't need a tip to care about you. They already did. So what actually lands? 4 things. Say it out loud. Arigatou gozaimashita, with a slight bow, spoken sincerely, carries more weight than any cash. After a meal, add "Gochisou-sama deshita." The cook will hear it. Leave a review, specific and genuine. Small family restaurants live and die by word of mouth. And if you find a place you love, bring omiyage next time. A packaged sweet from your home country, something the staff can share. That's the move. Let me walk you through what actually happens when a visitor leaves a tip. Best case, the staff member smiles, says thank you, and quietly returns the money to the table after you've gone, assuming you forgot it. More common scenario? They run after you. Down the street, half a block, holding out the cash, confused, calling, "Excuse me, excuse me!" Not because they're rude, because they genuinely believe you made a mistake. Here's the thing that makes this make sense. In Japan, a professional's pride is tied to the quality of their work, not the size of the payment. The waiter who served your dinner served it the same way whether you ordered ramen or kaiseki. That consistency is omotenashi in action. Tipping introduces a variable, reward based on performance, where omotenashi assumes the performance is already constant. The refusal isn't awkward, it's principled. Now you know why. So if cash is off the table, what are 3 things that genuinely land? Say it. A sincere arigatou gozaimashita with a bow, plus something specific. The way you seasoned the dashi was perfect. Is a gift that stays with a host long after you've walked out. Specific praise shows you were paying attention. In Japan, that matters enormously. Write it. A specific, genuine review is the modern equivalent of word of mouth. Small family restaurants don't have marketing budgets. Your words do real work. Name the dish, name the moment, and return. Come back to the same place on a future trip. Say, I was here before. Say why you came back. In Japanese hospitality culture, a guest who returns isn't just a repeat customer. They're the highest compliment a host can receive. Not a compliment, an action. That's the difference. If you want to see Omotenashi at its most concentrated, in its most complete form, you stay at a Ryokan. A traditional Japanese inn, not a hotel, a completely different philosophy of accommodation. And the center of that experience is the Nakai-san, your room attendant. She meets you when you arrive, brings tea and small sweets called wagashi, and explains the inn's rituals in a quiet, unhurried way. Then she disappears. At dinner, she returns to serve a multi-course kaiseki meal in your own room, course by course, patient, precise, warm. And while you're at dinner, she goes back to your room and transforms it. The low table is moved. The futon is laid out. The space is reset entirely for sleeping. You return to a room that has been rearranged for your rest, without you seeing it happen, without you having to ask. That's Omotenashi in human form. Not above and beyond, just the standard. There are a few rules in a ryokan that matter, not for the host's sake, for yours. Getting these right will make the whole experience richer. The genkan is the entryway, where you remove your shoes before stepping up into the inn. Your slippers, which they'll provide, do not go into tatami rooms. You leave them at the doorway and walk in socks or bare feet on the tatami. The yukata is the cotton robe in your room for wearing around the inn. Here's the one that trips people up. Always left panel over right. Left on top. Right over left is reserved for funeral attire. It will cause genuine alarm. Easy memory trick. Put your left hand inside the collar first. In the onsen, wash completely at the shower stations before entering the shared water. This is a matter of deep cultural and hygienic respect. No exceptions. And at dinner, eat the kaiseki courses in order as they arrive. The sequence and temperature are intentional. Think of your first evening at a ryokan as a flow, not a checklist, not a series of tasks you're managing. Each step is designed to transition you out of the outside world and into a different pace. You arrive at the genkan, shoes off. That physical act of stepping up into the inn is also a mental one. You're leaving the street outside. You change into your yukata, left over right. You're now dressed in the ryokan's rhythm, not the city's. You go to the onsen. Wash first, completely, then ease into the water. This is where the pace shifts from travel to stillness. You come back. The Nakai-san serves dinner, course by course, at the pace she sets, not yours. From this point, you don't need to plan anything. Someone has already done that for you. That's the whole design of a ryokan. For one night, Omotenashi is the structure of your day. Back to that scene I described at the beginning. A stranger walks 20 minutes out of their way just because you looked lost. There's a Japanese word for the quality that makes that happen. It's called Kikubari, and it goes deeper than Omotenashi. Kikubari means reading the atmosphere, noticing what someone needs before they have to signal it, let alone ask for it. It's the shopkeeper who notices you left your umbrella and runs after you before you've realized it's missing. The station attendant who approaches the confused-looking traveler, unprompted, before they've spoken to anyone. The host who refills your teacup before it's empty. Kikubari isn't a service standard. It's a social instinct, cultivated from childhood in Japan. The habit of noticing, of attending to what's unspoken. If someone in Japan offers you help you didn't ask for, accept it graciously. A warm "arigatou gozaimasu" and a bow. Refusing help can feel, to the person offering it, like a rejection of their sincerity. There's a phrase I keep coming back to when I try to explain Kikubari to someone who hasn't been to Japan yet. Kikubari is the art of reading the atmosphere and acting proactively to meet someone's need before they have to ask. That word proactively is doing a lot of work there. This isn't reactive. It isn't even attentive. It's anticipatory. You are noticed in Japan before you speak, before you signal, often before you've realized you need anything yourself. And here's the thing about accepting that help. Don't deflect it. Don't insist you'll figure it out. A warm bow and a genuine thank you is the response that honors the gesture. That's a different kind of presence, and once you've felt it, you'll miss it everywhere else. Here's the thing about Omotenashi that most travel guides miss. Receiving it well is itself a skill. You don't have to match it. You don't have to bow as deeply, or speak formal Japanese, or memorize every rule. But a few small habits will make every interaction richer for both sides. When you receive anything, a cup of tea, your room key, a bag from a shop, give a small nod or half bow as you take it. It signals that you noticed, that you're present, that the gesture landed. When you're in a traditional space, a ryokan, a temple, a small restaurant, respect it. Cue without rushing. Keep your voice low. Follow posted rules without being told twice. And when you want to express appreciation, be specific. The way you arranged the kaiseki was beautiful lands completely differently than, "This was great." Specific praise shows you were paying attention. In Japan, that matters more than the volume of the compliment. 4 habits, simple ones, that make you a noticeably gracious guest in Japan. First, bow slightly when receiving anything. Change, a key, a dish of food, a small nod is enough. It doesn't have to be a deep, formal bow. It just has to be real. Second, respect the space. Omotenashi assumes the host has prepared the environment thoughtfully. You honor that by queuing patiently, keeping noise low in traditional areas, and following the rules without being asked twice. Third, say something specific, not just "thank you." The way you prepared the dashi in the soup was extraordinary. A compliment that shows you were paying attention is something a chef or a host remembers for years. Fourth, return. If a place moves you, go back. Say, "I was here before." Say why you came back. That last one, in Japan, is the thing that turns a guest into a regular. And a regular is the highest thing a guest can become. Your turn. Real question. I want to hear this in the comments. Which part of Omotenashi caught you most off guard the first time you experienced it? The no tipping rule? Most Western visitors have a moment of genuine panic the first time they try to leave cash and the waiter waves it off. The deep bow at departure? Long after you've turned away and walked out the door? The Kikubari, someone helping you before you even asked, before you even realized you needed help. Or the Ryokan rituals, the yukata, the nakai-san, the whole ceremony of arrival and the futon laid out while you were at dinner. Drop it below. I read every comment, and it genuinely helps me know what to cover next. Japan has a reputation for being difficult to navigate for first-time visitors. Unfamiliar language, specific customs, unwritten rules everywhere you look. But underneath all of it is a culture that genuinely, deeply, wants you to feel at home. That's Omotenashi. And once you understand it, something shifts. The hot towel isn't just a hot towel. The bow at departure isn't just politeness. The stranger who walked you 20 minutes out of their way, that wasn't an accident. Japan stops feeling foreign. It starts feeling like the most welcoming place on earth. If this video helped, hit subscribe. We do this every week. The full article with everything we covered is linked in the description. And if you've had your own Omotenashi moment, the kind of story you still tell people years later, share it in the comments. I'll read them. See you in the next one. One quick note. All the illustrations you've seen in this video are AI generated. They're meant to capture the feeling of Japanese hospitality, the warmth, the rituals, the small moments of connection, not to be photorealistic copies of specific places or people. So if you visit Japan, the real thing will look different, more textured, more surprising. Honestly, that's the best part. Thanks for watching.